Hello everybody, welcome back to another election prediction video. In this video we have Kamala Harris, the current vice president, up against former President Donald J. Trump. So going into this, I have changed a few states since my last official prediction back in August. So let's just get right into the safe states starting off with. And there's going to be a few states that have moved from safe to likely R, or safety from likely D. So we're just going to get into that as I'm just filling these ones out. South Carolina remains safe blue. Just fill in all these. New England states, New York, Colorado. All right, so let's get into the changes. So I am putting Alaska from safe Republican to likely Republican. A Republican internal poll only has Trump up by only 10% in Alaska right now. So, again, Alaska was only 10% last time around, so it already trended Democratic a bit from 2016 to 2020. So the fact that Saginaw only has it as a 10% Trump lead here, I'm led to believe that I think Trump's only going to probably carry Alaska by 8 or 9 points this time around just due to the trends in the state overall. So I think that state should be demoted down to likely Republican, which will help out Mary Patola get over a more convincing margin of victory there to stave off a runoff. As long as she gets over 50%, she's probably most likely fine because they do have ranked choice voting in the state. Going over to Iowa, I'm still keeping this as the safe Republican state. I still think Trump's very favored here. And I don't think Harris is seriously going to contest this state because there's really nothing down ballot worth contesting in Iowa at this point. So I think it's probably better off for her to write off the state, and she is writing it off. Nebraska's second. There's been favorable polling out of this district showing Harris up by like 5 or 7 points. So she's on track to replicate Biden's margin here from 2020. So she's quite favored to win this district, and that'll definitely help Dems' chances in the House district here. Moving on to Ohio, J.D. Vance's home state. Again, polls usually show Trump up here by about 7 to 9 or even 10 points. Right now, I think Trump's only going to carry it by about 9, which definitely helps out Sherrod Brown a bit. As long as it's not over 10, Sherrod Brown has a pretty good chance at hanging on here. Again, he's seen as quite a favorable senator, and so far Bernie Moreno has been down in the polls by quite a lot, so that's good news for Democrats to keep Ohio as a likely Republican state. Florida, I'm very bullish on. I'm still not going to put it to lean Republican, even with some favorable polls coming out for Harris, showing her only down by 5 or 4 points. I think she's probably going to lose Florida by about 7 right now. Again, I'm usually pretty bullish on Republicans' chances in Florida just due to the registration numbers looking very favorable for them in the state. So that's a likely Republican state. Texas. This state could go to lean Republican, honestly. There's a real argument for that because Harris is doing a lot better than Joe Biden in the state of Texas. UT poll only has her down by 5. Emerson only has her down by 3 with leaners included, which is good news for Colin Allred in that Texas Senate race. Right now, though, I'm still not going to demote it to lean R. I still think Trump will probably carry it by about 5%, but it very well could go to lean R in the future. So for now, I have Trump just winning it by barely a likely margin of 5% victory in the state of Texas. I do think it'll be a bit closer here than it was in 2020, which was like a 5.5% victory, something like that. New Mexico and Virginia, again, so far Harris is holding her own in New Mexico. Virginia polls, however, she's not doing quite as well. One poll only had her up by 3. A couple of them did. Again, there was a lot of undecideds in that poll, and I think those undecideds probably big for Harris here because it is a more Democratic-leaning state, so this is a likely blue state in my opinion. Minnesota, again, she has quite a lead here. Again, Tim Walz would probably help Harris quite a bit in the state of Minnesota, so she easily carries it by a likely blue margin. Maine at large, there's been a lot of good polls for Harris in Maine, but I still think she only wins it by about 9. I think it just goes below that safe blue margin. And Maine's second, she actually isn't polling that bad. She's actually leading the district in some Maine second polls. But I still think Trump probably carries the district by about 5 as of right now. New Hampshire, I also have as a likely blue state. Trump's also pretty much wrote this state off. One of his campaign people pretty much resigned and said the state was pretty much unwinnable for Trump at this point, according to internal polling he has seen. And it's only worth 4 electoral votes, so it's honestly smart of Trump not to waste time here. It doesn't even have a Senate race; it only has a governor's race, so it's really not all that important for the Republicans to win New Hampshire. And now we're down to the 7 true swing states. We'll start off with Nevada because, again, Harris has gained a lot of momentum in the state of Nevada. So far, she's been leading in quite a few polls here. Even the right-leaning polls only have a tie or Trump up by only 1% here. At this point, I see a lot of momentum shifting for Harris in this state, and I think this is one of the states that are more likely to go to Kamala Harris right here. So it's not a tilt blue states, it's a lean blue state. And again, I'm probably going to cut down on the tilt states because realistically, in an election, there's typically only 3 to 4 tilt states. So all these 7 swing states aren't going to be like, most of them is probably going to be either a lean margin, basically, in this prediction. And I think that's the best way to predict it, too. So let's keep on moving. All right. Which state we're going to go to next? I think we could head to Michigan. So far, this is one of Harris's strongest swing states, in my opinion. Some polls have, some regional Michigan polls have shown a very close race where Trump's only up or they're in a tie before. But again, Emerson College, they show Harris up here by about 2 to 3, just 3 points, basically. Even though the right-leaning polls only have a tie, so I'm inclined to believe she's up here by a good amount for me to give a lean blue rating to the state of Michigan. Wisconsin's up next. I am wary of trusting Wisconsin polls, but again, it doesn't always go one way, the polling errors in Wisconsin. Sometimes Democrats do better than the polls suggest. And even the right-leaning pollsters only have a tie here, or a narrow lead for Trump, Trafalgar and Patriot polling. Emerson did show Trump up here narrowly. Bloomberg Morning Consult showed her up by a good amount. Further down, Harris has pretty dominant leads even before the DNC convention, even with right-leaning pollsters. So I think Wisconsin's one of those states that are more likely to go to Harris. Again, Wisconsin has seen a lot of wage growth. So that could be an explanation for why Democrats poll so well in Wisconsin currently. It's just due to wage growth or earning more money. So inflation hasn't hit them as hard, basically. So I'm putting this as I would say Harris is probably going to win here by about 1%. It's not going to be like a 2-point victory like in Michigan, Nevada. So it's close to tilt, but I think she'll probably carry it by a bit beyond that. And we're probably going to see Wisconsin actually vote to the left of PA. It did a few times in the last 2 decades. In 2016, it nearly vote to the left of PA, so it's not so far-fetched to see that happen. Moving on to the state of Arizona. This state is a pure toss-up. It's really tough to see who's going to win here, but so far Trump has been taking decent lead in some recent polls. Other polls have Harris up or basically a tie. Again, it's a tough state to predict right now, and so far I'm only narrowly giving it to Donald Trump by like a tilt-R margin. My rating could change on this state, but I think this is going to be a very close one. The state of Georgia is up next. And so far, Harris is leading in all the polling aggregates. Even RCP she's leading in, which usually includes more right-wing pollsters than left-wing ones. So I think that goes to show that there's a lot of energy behind Harris in the state. And registration data is also pretty good for Democrats here. A lot of black voters are registering to vote. So I think Harris is going to get pretty good black turnout. And that'll probably be enough for her to win the state of Georgia right now. And so far, she seems to have that momentum going in her favor. And just do the trends here in Atlanta and suburbs, I think this is one of the states that are more likely to go to her just because of the black voter turnout issue here, which it's not an issue. The black voter turnout advantage, I would say. So I think this state would be a tilt blue state. So going on to the state of Pennsylvania, this is a pretty tough state to call, typically. But so far, Harris has a narrow lead in this state, according to most aggregates here. Patriot polling. Again, Patriot polling Patriot polling is basically run by a bunch of high schoolers, which is it's a kind of a funny pollster. But so far, they only show Trump up here by one, and Trafalgar only shows a 2 point lead. Other polls show it as a pure tie. Other pollsters have Harris narrowly up. Again, even her internal polls apparently, this is just someone, I think it was Jake Tapper, said that Harris was narrowly down in her own internals in the state of Pennsylvania. However, we look back, so far, she appears to be polling decent here, but this state could go either way, honestly. That's what I'm getting to. And I just think Harris is narrowly favored to take it as of right now. So it could change. We could see Georgia be the tipping point state over Pennsylvania. We could have a scenario where PA goes red and Georgia goes blue, and Georgia's the one that decides it. That could very well happen. And now we're down to the last state of North Carolina, and I do think Harris is in quite a decent position here to potentially flip this red state. However, Republicans usually win close elections in the state of North Carolina, so that they have kind of that advantage here. But if Harris gets very high black turnout, she could totally win this state. But as of right now, I think Trump has a narrow advantage here. He's only up here by like under 1% as well, so it is a fair categorization to put North Carolina as tilt R. So in total, we have 4 tilt states and 3 lean states. So far, Kamala Harris has a narrow lead to win the presidential election. I think she has a 55% chance at winning against Donald Trump as of right now. I think she wins a popular vote by 3% against him. I think she needs to win a popular vote by 2.5 to really be the favorite in the Electoral College as well. But other than that, that's my current 2024 election prediction. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments down below. I'd greatly appreciate if you're new to this channel, subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.